Good morning and welcome to the first webinar organized by NX Partners and Jedox. The title says Say Goodbye to Excel Spaghetti, and I just hope that you do not expect to get a cooking class because it will have nothing to do with spaghetti, but everything to do with Excel and Excel-driven processes. So don't get me wrong, Excel is a fantastic tool. I think we all love to work with Excel, but Excel is not a system. And during today's session, together with the help of Søren from Jedox, we will be showing you what the downside is of working with an Excel-centric process, planning process, and what the benefits could be of switching to a system like Jedox. So what do we have on the agenda today? We will first start off with taking you through a traditional financial planning process, followed by how the same process could look like when working with technology like Jedox, with a platform like Jedox. After that, Søren will take over and show you in real life how the system looks like before Jan takes over again and shows you if you want to evolve to an EPM platform like Jedox, what your roadmap could look like in order to be future ready for planning. We will open up for questions at the end of the session. You do have the possibility to ask questions via the chat option so that we can address these at the end of the session. So let me start by welcoming everybody in the call and by welcoming the two speakers. So speaking for you today are Jan van der Lemmer, who is a partner and in charge of controlling services at NX Partners. And we are also happy to have Søren Luther with us from Jedox, who is a senior consultant and who will be taking care of the demo and the more technical questions if there would be any. Some practical housekeeping rules. You are all muted, but we can take questions via the chat box. And the session is being recorded, and everybody attending the webinar will be receiving a link to download the recorded session at the end of the session. We have created, for the purpose of this session today, we have created a fictive company, Auremedica, which is a global medical player active worldwide, but with operations mostly in Europe. So you can see on the little map that we have some countries where we have production and distribution centers. In other countries, we are working with specialized distributors. Jan will be the group controller for today, and he's reporting to Philip, who is the CFO of the company. The headquarters is in Dublin, well, I think Jan will explain why this is important and how Jedox can help him improve his life. So the company is fake, Jan is very real, and the topic we are addressing is just as real. So with this, and without further ado, I give the word to Jan.
Thank you, Bruno. Hi, everyone. Let's be honest, most of us know the reality behind Excel-based planning. It's a love-hate relationship. And as you'll see in these slides, it's mostly hate when it comes to scaling, reliability, and sanity. Let's walk through a standard quarterly forecast cycle. Looks familiar, I think. You kick off the process, gather the previous forecast or budget version, year-to-date actual data. You rebuild or adapt templates, you send them out. Afterwards, you chase inputs. You consolidate 20 or more versions of Excel files, and you pray that it all adds up. This slide lays it out like a neat process, but trust me, the actual experience is anything but that. And you've probably also written emails like this as well. In this case, as group controller at Auremedica, I'm setting the wheels in motion for the 2+10 forecast. Guidelines are inputs by legal entity in local currency and euro, split by product category on gross margin, and the remainder by cost center and on GL account level. Quite standard. I'm doing my best as well to be very clear. Inputs are required by March 23rd. Templates will follow. all sounds simple, but it never really is, right? And then the data hunt begins. As I mentioned, digging through folders, downloading historicals, setting up templates again. You know the drill. Same routine like every other quarter. The most common thing that I hear from controllers is really this. We spend more time managing the process than actually analyzing the numbers. One slip in a formula or a wrong version uploaded to SharePoint and the whole thing collapses like a house of cards. All right, this is where things really start getting fun. I've set up all my XM templates and I will now share them via SharePoint. And of course, I kindly remind everyone, please don't touch the structure or formulas. Now let me pause right here. How many of you have ever had all contributors follow that instruction perfectly? Exactly, no one. Every team has that one colleague, or even more if you're unlucky, who thinks they're helping. They delete a column, they add a note in a merge cell, and suddenly, poof, your carefully crafted formulas break. And here we're already in the next phase. My desktop is filled with multiple files. And now the real collect and consolidate part begins, which in Excel terms usually means cross-checking, copy-pasting, fixing broken links, and praying that none of the numbers disappeared in a VLOOKUP or a sum ifs. And at this stage, most controllers I speak to say, this is when I stop being a finance professional and become a full-time Excel detective. And the worst part, this is all happening before we can even validate or review the figures. Next on is where the Excel spaghetti gets real. Different teams are now editing their templates at the same time, all linked to your central master file, or should I say monster file. And then, boom, all of a sudden, Caitlin, your local manager in Belgium, pings you. She doesn't recognize her figures. Crap. Thus, she overrides formulas, deletes some columns and such. She had good intentions, but suddenly nothing consolidates correctly. And so again, you're fixing errors until 10 p.m. And on top of that, it's number crunching time. You're reviewing links again, running triple checks, making sure everything adds up. But wait, another message. This time your CFO, he wants a clean version of the EBITDA. And by tonight, of course. But you're still reconciling changes because local managers adjusted formats. So what do? Right, you plug the gap like last time. We've all been there. And it's quite painful. It bothers you now because you want to do a better job. It will bother you later when you get questions from the board, and next time when you need to compare the new forecast to this one. So to summarize, this part of the deck paints a clear picture. The hidden costs aren't just time and errors. They are lost trust, missed insights, and a state of indecision. And what's worse of all, your best people end up being spreadsheet gatekeepers instead of strategic advisors. Now, let's shift gears. What if all those steps could still happen, but without the chaos? Enter Jedox. It does not remove steps, it just makes it frictionless. It's the same cycle: initiate, prepare, distribute, input, collect, validate, but now with a unified platform that keeps everything under control. You, the controller, are back in the driver's seat. So instead of sending out 20 Excel files, I now send a single message with timeline and guidelines. As you can notice, with Jedox, you can streamline and speed up the process so deadlines can move forward compared to the Excel-based scenario. So what do I do next? I log into Jedox. And then I'll navigate through my personal control panel. I will not go into details on all the modules and focus solely on the forecast part today. However, in a nutshell, in data preparation, you can launch uploads from different source systems. You can manage dimensions, attributes, hierarchies, and so on. Reporting, that speaks for itself. It will give you access to predefined reports for your assigned scope, providing you with dashboards, variance reports, ad hoc analysis, and many more. And then in the administration part at the bottom, as a power user, you can review and/or change security settings, only you, open and close periods for data loads and/or data entry by end users. There's version control, and report management can be found here as well. Now, we'll focus on forecast, and under forecast, you have the different guide you through the steps of the process. Initialization, group data entry and views, controller data entry for local users, which again is restricted to their scope and only their scope, another report section, and you can formally finalize and close the forecast process in the last step. Now let's go to the screen where you can initialize this forecast, 2+10. In here, data is preloaded, exchange rates are auto-applied, calculations run on the fly, and input screens are readily available for the end users. But first, you transfer the actuals to the planning cube, you populate the 2+10 version, and then you copy 2 months of actual on that version. Optionally, you could also pre-fill the remaining 10 months of this forecast with budget figures if desired. But so imagine this: no more chasing people for templates or wondering if the file they sent is the last version, the final version, the V3 of the final version. Now let's talk inputs. Business and local users work directly in the system. They will only get access to their scope and can only enter data in designated cells. Here, for example, volumes are already entered in the previous step and unit prices can be adapted, while the revenue is automatically calculated by the system. In this next screen, salary costs can be entered by cost center and on GL account level. For the third screen, this shows the result of driver-based planning by using a planning matrix. Again, we'll not go into detail, but there's a lot of flexibility. It's a powerful way of keeping the planning model flexible, allowing to change the way certain parts of a budget or a forecast are calculated. And this can change in time. Depending on the maturity level of the company or departments, the calculations can be adapted. And all while the end users are entering data, meanwhile, Jedox allows to have real-time monitoring by the central team. And guess what? Caitlin can't break the template anymore. She can still switch to her local view to make sense of things, but she cannot change the underlying structure herself. This one process change alone will save you hours of rework and a lot of stress. And now from here, it really is smooth sailing. Jedox shows a clear approval workflow. You always know who's in time, who's late, who's holding things up. And when all figures are in, you can move to the next phase, consolidate. And of course, this is not a full-fledged financial consolidation model, although Jedox has an out-of-the-box model for that as well. It is rather rolling up figures in an automated way. So when consolidation happens, it is not 20 Excel files, it is just one model, one version of the truth. Next up, After all inputs are in, you dive into the numbers by consulting predefined dashboards, executive overviews, and variance reports. And of course, these are all dynamic. You can easily change views by selecting different elements in the drop-down list, like companies, cost centers, periods, whatever. And then when that inevitable EBITDA looks off message of your CFO comes in, you don't scramble anymore. You run an ad hoc analysis on the fly, slice it by department, drill down, and give the CFO a clear explanation. No plugs, no guesswork, no chaos, but flexibility and full transparency. And because Jedox allows to speed up the full planning process, there is more time left to check numbers, challenge the business, and ask local teams to review and resubmit these figures when required. So to summarize, this is really what we call the happy flow. It is not just smoother, it's empowering. Controllers go from being firefighters to co-pilots of the business. And you're not chasing numbers, you're taking financial and managerial grip. So now I will give the floor to Søren for a live demo.
Thank you, Jan. So my name is Søren. I'm a senior consultant at Jedox. So I work predominantly with mapping business requirements, processes, pain points into a Jedox solution, which is also what I'm going to show in a minute. So just 2 words about Jedox. So said here, we call ourselves the most adaptable planning and performance management platform. It's not just something that we ourselves saying, it's also something that we get quite often feedback from existing customers, which is also why we're recognized as a leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for financial planning software. It's because the feedback from our customer, not just feedback to us, but also to Gartner third-party analysts, is that there is actually quite a lot of adaptability in Jedox. And the reason why I'm mentioning it as adaptability and not flexibility is, as Jan just very neatly highlighted, you don't want people to be able to go in and adjust the planning templates at will, right? You want a fixed workflow, a fixed set of templates where you can actually add in the figures, then automatically aggregate the numbers, consolidate the numbers, doing ad hoc analysis on based on those. But the reason why we still want to keep that flexibility in is because let's say that Caitlin again has issues with her template. It's nice to be able to know that if business requirements are changing, you do not have to build a completely new model. You can just simply take existing reports, copy them, change them, whatever needed, and that is what basically that's why our customer choose Jedox, and that's why they give the feedback to Gartner that we're an adaptable platform. So I will share my screen now. Just give me a second to rearrange the windows, and it needs to load, and I think you'll see my screen now. So, and you're nodding, thank you. So just a quick highlight of what we're seeing here. I'm logged in now to my Jedox instance. That was also what Jan showed. We had the login page. I'm logged in as John Johnson. So John Johnson is set up in my system as what we would call an analyst or a business controller, FP&A. So John has access, you could say, to the full model, but he doesn't have access to the database, all kinds of more, you could say, technical stuff. So this is still from a, you could say, a power end user perspective, what you would see. So John here has various charts, insights, KPI cards. This is where the adaptability plays in, right? You can change it however you like. What I would like to emphasize here, which also plays into what Jan just told, is this progress overview, right? Because we can also build dashboards in Power BI, in Excel, in wherever you want. The key thing is, can you trust the numbers? Can I trust that this chart is correct? Can I trust that it doesn't change, right? Can I trust that I don't get questions if I publish this to my stakeholders? And this purpose overview actually tells me that, well, I can trust the month-end close, but the sales budget that we want to look at in a minute, you can't trust it yet, because these arrows indicates that it's still running, right? So let's actually take a look at that. So if I navigate to my workflow overview here, you can see I have for my sales budget for 2026, and I can have loads of different workflows, right? It's not limited to anything specific. In this case, the workflow runs on customers that are segmented into different regions. I can also drill down into these, and I can see everything is in data entry, right? And what I'm gonna zoom in on is the German entity here, and Jedox is based out of Freiburg, so I'm gonna stick to a Freiburg customer. What we're gonna look at is this customer. You can see it's in start. It hasn't really progressed. We have some due dates. We have some when is the workflow started and so on. We can see who's it's assigned to. So in this case, it's assigned to. Relevant for this one is the sales group. So John Johnson is in the sales group. So just prior to this webinar, I went ahead and started the workflow. And what it actually does is, let me show you here. So it generates, you can see it generates an email with CCing all the different power users and admins in. Gives, can give you as detailed a process description as you want. Gives you a link to the report that I can then press. I don't think it's sharing the. Now it's you're seeing the new open link, right? It seems like my view of the shared screen is stuck. So if I'm talking about something you don't see, let me know. Right. So what I did was I pressed the link. Basically, as an end user, I come into the template that I want to adjust. So in this case, unit price for gross revenue. And again, we can do it as detailed as you want. You can see this is actually a product group of, in this case, antibiotics. If you want, I mean, you can have however many products you want in, but the good thing about Jedox is you get the detailed view, but you do not have to plan on the detailed view, right? So when I navigate to this customer, and I can just, if I open up here, you can see I can also get a little bit of a view of the workflow, the entry. I can see here from my the coloring that it's open for input, right, for budget 2026. So I could go in and then type all the numbers, but one of the nice things about having a system like Jedox is that you do not have to go in and type. So in case I want to increase this by 10%, I can just simply use the drop down menu and increase the unit prices by 10%, and then it changes it on the aggregated level and then splashes it down onto the different months. Right. Same with the units here. If I want to increase this by 15%, you can see doesn't change this and make these equal. So that's one of the nice advantages of using a more fixed system like Jedox, is that you can kind of control the flow. What should the end user be able to add to this? Another thing is that, say we know that this customer, whenever they buy antibiotic, antivirus, and so on, there's always some complementary service in, right? You can actually set up parameters as well. So quite easy, I can say that, for studies, I know that the budget, they'll probably have the same as with the actuals. I can just copy it in. I'm copying in my actuals here. You can see it sets a percentage here. So that percentage just basically calculates the revenue based on the top line here. And that's it, right? So if I know that there is some derived activity here, I can very, very high level set it. And even, if I don't want to look at it from a monthly perspective, I can check this one off. And then I can actually start comparing it just on a yearly basis, right? So I can see now I'm comparing my budget here to my forecast. So I'm also giving the end user the possibility of, okay, how does it actually stack up against my different versions if I have a target? And again, this is the adaptability. You can add however many versions you want in here. And if you have different, let's say, budget snapshots, so you have a budget phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, you can actually add them here, right? And then you can start comparing it. So you can see here that I increased the budget as opposed to the forecast with X amount of units and unit price. You can get some insights into, okay, what was actually changed from prior versions to this version and so on. And then once John Johnson or Caitlin is happy with this, we can take the workflow status here. I can add a comment, right? Added 15% to units or to volume due to new order, right? So we can add a little bit of comment here. I can press proceed. You can see now my comment here is sent. It returns to the review level. Close this down. You can see now it actually closes the report here. So now John Johnson has committed to a certain number, then it locks. Right? So there is nothing, oh, John is now going back because he got some feedback, he wants to adjust it. No, it's completely locked. So I can go back here. And maybe I'll just have to refresh the page here. And you can see now I'm back in. I'm still back in them as John Johnson, right? But let's call it John Johnson 2 with the high level John Johnson. He can now see that, okay, for this customer, whoever was responsible for this is actually has sent it. We can see here, we can see the comment here. And we can also see now the assigned user here changed. So we have a different user and now it's a different responsible person. So we can actually always track who's responsible for the different processes. So I don't have to chase through all these different stakeholders. And actually, I don't even have to send them an email, right? I can just, if I can get to open my Outlook, you can see I just received an email, right? With the comment in that now John Johnson has submitted his part of the budget with the new volume. And again, if you want to, you can also add links to other kinds of reports in here. Then, and I can show you just the report here. So again, my high level John Johnson, he's now closed the workflow. You can see now we're in Europe, so we've just consolidated it up. So now this figure is locked. Now the other neat part is with Jedox, what you would typically have to do in an Excel process is then, okay, you would consolidate all of this. You'd have to get it into the P&L. I don't have to do that because Jedox works with an in-memory database. You can see the figure that I have here, the product revenue, that's just immediately updated because as soon as I type something in Jedox, it's calculated. So I have the budget in here. So instead of chasing the inputs, you send out these templates. You can set a due date so that you get the inputs when you need it. So you can cut down on the time that it takes to create a budget or forecast. And that leads me to the next point, which is I find quite relevant for finance persons. And that is about scenarios. So now that we have time to actually, you could say about free up time for the budget, we can actually start creating scenarios. So I can create here a new scenario, new drug type, right? I can give it, what if we introduce a new drug type, right? So what would happen to our financials if we introduce this new drug type? Now, I can actually pre-fill the scenario with a different version. So if I know that this scenario should be based on the budget, basically I just want to do a top up of the budget, right? I choose the budget here, pre-fill it. I create a load. Then Jedox creates a new scenario, loads it with the budget figures that we just concluded on. It's in here. You can see I have an active here. So we don't want to look at scenario 2. That's not relevant for us. Get a green bar up here to tell me that everything went all right. I can see who's created it. I can also see what type of data that was loaded in. And if I go back here, you can see I now have a new version that I can start comparing, let's say my budget to. So obviously no difference here. But if I go back into my planning template here, my bottom-up template, you can see I have the new drug type scenario in. So now I can actually see, okay, what happens if the anesthesia is we're going to add, let's say, 3 million. So I can just do that very high level, and it costs 120. I get a new revenue figure. I can compare it in the template to the budget, right? So I can see what's actually changed here on a product level. So again, I can drill down very, very detailed and see what are the different products that we are introducing, what's the delta to the budget or to other versions. And then I have it here, right? So I have, again, for full P&L view, I have all the numbers in again to compare against the budget. So we just changed the product revenue here, right? We didn't actually change any of the salaries, the distribution cost, whatever, but that's also something that we can do. So if I go into my workforce planning here, so now I'm jumping a little bit ahead. You can see I have the new scenario in here where I copied in. So say that if I want to introduce this new new product, I need to pay all my employees in a certain cost center, let's say the management cost center. I need to give them an increase by, let's say, May, because otherwise we need more people or something like that, right? To give them a 1,500 monthly increase, just doing it in bulk. So you can see I just adding here. So I just added 1,500, and then Jedox again finds how many employees are there, add 1,500 to those employees for that cost center. And you can see the number changed here for the salary, right? Again, for our new scenario. So these scenarios are automatically copied out into all the different planning templates, completely automatic. I can now go in and plan on the different scenarios, and I can see the delta here, right? So again, this email that Jan got before from the CFO is like, oh, can you do this quick ad hoc analysis? Absolutely, because you just go in and copy in the budget from the budget into your new scenario. You add on top of the scenario, and then you can see the delta. Or as we had before with the scenario one that wasn't populated, we can also start from a blank canvas, right? We can also start saying, okay, what if I just want to see the P&L of, let's say again, only the drug type, right? So I only go in for scenario one, I just plan whatever I have of input for this only one drug type, and then I can actually get, you could say, a P&L effect of only this one product. That's the adaptability of Jedox. And again, this is all, I mean, again, I'm in as John Johnson. I don't have to do anything additional to the database logic. I don't have to go in and change the template, because you can actually do all of this from Jedox front end. And then again, back to my start here, right? So maybe you didn't fully notice, right? But there is a small gap here now for the different charts, right? And once everyone has closed their workflow, this will also become green, telling John Johnson he can now trust whatever he sees on his front page, right? So we started out here with a very high level KPI, some progress about how far are people in the planning process, what's the impact of the overall company, and then we drilled into the different bottom ups. We sent out template. Jedox just automated everything for us, right? It consolidated the input, it distributed the templates. All we had to do was to simply run the workflow and then review the numbers, being a business partner, not a data collector. And then we could start adding different scenarios, different driver-based what-if analysis, and so on. That's one of the key benefits of a system like Jedox, and that's why we get the feedback that we are one of the most adaptable platforms in the EPM space. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Jan.
Thank you, Søren. I'll share my screen for the presentation. Voila. So let's take a step back now. We've seen what can go wrong with manual processes. We've seen what can go right with a platform like Jedox. But the question that often comes up is this one: how do we actually get there without throwing away everything we already have? And yeah, here's the truth. Systems alone don't solve your planning chaos. If your processes are unclear or your teams aren't aligned, any tool will just highlight those weaknesses faster. It's really all about striking the balance between people, processes, and systems. That's where the most successful transformation journey starts. Not with a pure tech rollout, but with rethinking how the controlling function operates day to day. Controlling maturity, so this maturity curve shows where many organizations are today. Some are still stuck in ad hoc mode, where every cycle feels like starting from scratch every time. Others are moving into standardized territory, and so they are automating parts of the workflow and gaining real visibility. But the end game, it's a controlling function that's not just pushing reports, but driving the business with real-time insights and trusted numbers. We're not saying everybody needs to be at strategic level tomorrow, but knowing where you are on the curve helps you define the right next step. Whether that's improving templates, automating consolidation, or building forecast capabilities that actually reflect reality. The maturity assessment will highlight which part of the magic formula, people, processes, systems, you should prioritize. And yes, change needs to be managed carefully. The roadmap doesn't start with buying software. It starts with understanding what's broken, aligning on goals, and planning the move in manageable phases. That's exactly how we structure it. Assess first, define needs, validate the tools, and then roll out with minimal disruption. The goal is not to go for a big bang. We usually advise our clients to fix the basics first, and then afterwards, all additional developments on top will follow a similar cyclical phased approach. And we are not experimenting here. This is a path that has been walked by others. Across industries, we've seen controlling teams go from overwhelmed to in control, and not by flipping a switch, but by tackling the right priorities in the right order. Messer Medical is a great example of this. Their full group reporting and planning process was Excel-based. The new CFO wanted to streamline the process when he came in, and so with the help of Jedox and NX Partners, they were able to give more grip to group management and increase the ownership of the local teams as well. And hence this very nice quote and referral we got from Nick, the group CFO of Mr. Medical Home Care. So at NX Partners, we get a recognition by industry leaders. So we're a very proud partner, platinum partner of Jedox since 2017. And being very client-centric, we really focus on bringing added value to our customers. And with our teams that have both technical and financial backgrounds. And for us, that's very important, that combination. And next to controlling services, we also are active in treasury and have a similar recognition by our other technology partner, Kyriba. And therefore, we are very happy that we were recently granted with the Jedox Customer Experience Award. You can see me in the picture being genuinely very, very happy. For the Q&A, I'll give the floor back to Bruno.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Thank you, Søren. Are there any questions from the people in the call? If there are, you can type them in the little chat box. I did get some questions from the team that they get asked frequently by clients and prospects. So I don't know who wants to address the question, but how flexible is the model? For example, what if you need to add a new product line? Søren, you already touched upon that, but do you need technical assistance to do that?
No, you don't. That's the short answer. Obviously, the user that you are logged in as needs you could say, the access right to be able to add a product. So that's something that can be restricted, right? Because just because you can add a new product doesn't mean that you could say you necessarily want to allow every single one to add new products, right? But if you're saying that again with my John Johnson user, and just maybe a second, if I share my screen here, I can actually show it. just give it a second to load here. Perfect. So if I go back to my bottom-up template here, fortunately, John Johnson has the access right to this, right? Let's just go to a new customer that's not logged here, right? I have the possibility of, you can see, adding a new product, right? So I can just simply choose in which hierarchy will it be in. If I just move it here, right? I just put it under drug type, new drug type. I can add different, we call them attributes. It could be size, coloring, but you can also upload files. Here it says image, right? But say that, again, with drug types, let's say you need to upload some PDF file with clinical trials, something similar to that, right? You can actually upload this as well. You press add, and then it's right there, right? And then I can start planning on it for my new customer, right? So if I'm saying that it starts here, I can start adding to my product type, and then it's there. So the flexibility is definitely there, right? So when we had Caitlin before that said, oh, it doesn't match to my local numbers, that might actually be because she has some additional knowledge that's not reflected in the template. Then you can give Caitlin access to adding a new product. And then it'll be collected here, and then it's reflected in the revenue. And you can also in the audit trail see who's actually added the product. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. But so what you're saying is that you as a controller, you can control the access levels for the different business users. So
yes,
the system can be flexible. The system can be flexible, but you control the degree of flexibility.
Yes, exactly. And that's why we call it adaptable and not flexible, because we don't just give everyone access to do whatever they want, because then it's not a unified process if everyone could do whatever they want, right? It has to be, as Jan said, there needs to be a certain process, right? That people adhere to. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Another question that we frequently hear, because like I said in the introduction, everybody loves Excel because Excel, it's a powerful tool with great flexibility. Now here we have been talking about moving away from Excel. Finance professionals tend to really love working with Excel. Is it easy to export data back to Excel?
Yeah, so indeed, having a finance background as well, I also still love Excel. And the beauty of Jedox is that it does not just allow to export to Excel, which is possible, but then you have the numbers in values. Jedox has a full-blown Excel add-in, which links links to the Jedox database directly in your Excel, so you can build reports. It's very handy for ad hoc analysis. So in Jedox, this is called the paste view, and it's very similar to a pivot table in Excel. So you can drag and drop your dimensions, and you can build a report and quickly do analysis. It's dynamic, so if you have the product hierarchy that Søren showed, and you can double click on it like he did in the web, you will also be able to open it in Excel. Very similar. We haven't focused on it in this webinar, but it is really a powerful tool, certainly for ad hoc analysis. But you can also detach the views, and they will not be dynamic anymore, but you can then do formatting and build nice looking reporting packs that are automatically updated when new figures are in. So yeah, as finance department loves Excel, Jedox is really an Excel plus with all the security and the things that Søren explained behind it. So it's really Excel on steroids, but then in the good sense, in a controlled way.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. So what is next? What is the path to effortless planning? What we suggest next is, first of all, I would like to thank the speakers for going through the processes and the benefits of working with an EPM platform like Jedox. Thank you all for who is attending this webinar. Thank you very much for your presence. So what can you expect next? We will be sending you an email with a link to the webinar recording. If you still have questions that you didn't get to ask now, feel free to reach out to us and we will be happy to address those questions. What we will also be doing is we will be sending you a exclusive ebook which dives a little bit deeper in how you can elevate your Excel planning. So to be very clear, we do not say to bury Excel and to never look back at Excel, but what we are saying is there are ways how you can elevate your Excel planning and get the most out of the system while keeping control over your planning process. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the speakers. And if there are no further questions, I would say enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.